We were waiting for just a moment. You will note that I'm joined today not only by a number of the members of Houston City Council, but some city staff and representatives of our police union, our fire union, and the Hope Union was supposed to be here as well, and I fully expect to be joined in progress. We were holding off for a minute for him to be here, but I'm going to proceed. Yesterday, I sent a memo to Omar Reed, the HR director for the city of Houston, instructing him to make changes to our benefits policy for the city. So today I am announcing that the city will begin offering benefits to all legally married spouses of city employees. I repeat, all legally married spouses of city employees. This will apply to same-sex couples who have been married in a state where same-sex marriage is legal. My decision is based on a city legal department interpretation of recent U.S. Supreme Court decisions and other relevant case law from around the country. Folks immediately will say, well, but didn't we have a referendum in 2001 that has been relied on to say that we cannot grant domestic partner benefits or same-sex benefits? However, the amendment specifically permits benefits to be provided to legal spouses of employees. I can only assume that it was contemplated that there would never be a time when same-sex couples were in legally sanctioned relationships that could ever be recognized in a state or by the federal government. But after a careful review, we have determined that case law is such, and in fact, what's happening around the country is such that we cannot continue to treat employees differently based on their sexual orientation if they are, in fact, legally married. Based on the right to equal protection under the law, it is unconstitutional for the city to continue to deny benefits to the same-sex spouses of our employees who are legally married. This change is not only the legal thing to do, it is the right, just, and fair thing to do. The City of Houston is following actions already taken by several federal agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service, which announced in August that all legally married same-sex couples will be recognized as married for federal tax purposes, even if those couples reside in states that do not recognize same-sex marriage. As a result of this policy change, same-sex spouses of city employees will now be eligible for the same health care and life insurance benefits previously offered only to heterosexual married couples. It is unclear at this time as to how many employees will take advantage of the change because there is no way to know how many have legally recognized same-sex marriages. And in fact, the way that those couples will step forward and communicate that to the HR department is the same for heterosexual couples. You bring in a copy of your marriage license and proof that you have, in fact, been married in a state that recognizes your relationships. This policy does not extend benefits to domestic partners. We still have a prohibition against that in the city charter. It applies only to legally married couples. The next question may be, well, what about the state Defense of Marriage Act? All of our laws state that we are not required to follow laws that are unconstitutional, and we believe that the only, again, constitutional, just, right, and fair thing to do is to extend benefits to our married, all of our married employees, whether they are heterosexual or same-sex couples. And I'm happy to be standing here today to announce that today. Thank you. Not that I needed anyone to bring this issue to my attention, but I had been individually contacted by civilian employees of the Houston Police Department, or the City of Houston, civilian employees of the City of Houston, Houston police officers, classified Houston police officers, and some classified firefighters. I assume that they also talked to their union leadership about this issue, but I had already asked the city attorney to examine what our responsibilities were with changes in federal law and the recent Supreme Court ruling. So I'm very happy to be here today and happy with the support I am receiving within the city. Do you have questions?
Mayor, can we ask David Feldman the question, the city attorney?
Of course.
Can I ask you a question first?
Of course.
Do you expect any legal challenges, any litigation over this decision?
You know, I fully expect there will be a legal challenge. I'm not aware of anything, but clearly there are still folks in this community who struggle with the issue of legal same-sex marriages.
Mayor, could I ask you one other question before Mr. Feldman comes up here? Is there a cost associated with this, with the extension of the benefits?
There will be a cost of extension of benefits, but we cannot estimate that cost because we don't know how many couples fall into this category. And again, we don't expect it to be a significant cost. When the last time we looked at what the cost would be of providing domestic partner benefits, it was in the range of a few $100,000. It wasn't, millions of dollars, and this is a much smaller pool. So I'm not sure what it would be.
Do you think it will affect the price that the whole pool of city employees will have to pay, or did the domestic partner thing even affect it when you passed that?
No, and in fact, the last time we went out for health insurance bids, and we are in an RFP process right now, the insurance companies essentially said they considered it de minimis.
Do you expect this to be
What the
the same?
catalyst was for this? Why now?
The Supreme Court ruling and the IRS acceptance of same-sex marriages in those states where they are allowed. And wherever you reside, you still, under federal law, now have recognition of that relationship. It seemed only appropriate.
Mayor, I'm not asking for names, but do you personally know of anyone employed by the city who plans to take advantage of this new benefit?
Right here.
Could we hear from
Can we
from
hear
you?
David Feldman first?
I'm happy to make myself available after
Okay.
the press release of the mayor's time.
Great.
Thank you.
Can
And
we
Mayor,
talk
not
to
to get
David?
too personal,
hang on.
but does it affect your partner?
We are not legally married, but and I've said it. After 24 years, actually our 24th anniversary is January 16th. So, at some point, I fully intend to marry her.
Mayor, I know this is very important to you.
16th?
In a state that where it's allowed?
I'd really like to ask her first before y'all. I suspect that she will say yes after all these years, but let me talk to her first. But that's a separate situation from what we are doing here today.
Mayor, I know this is a very personal thing, and I fully agree with what is happening here because I've known you for a long time. But I just have a legal question to Dr. Mr. Feldman.
I'm happy to have Mr. Feldman come forward. City Attorney. Here, I'm going to let you, right in front of the microphone. I know how much you like that.
David, I know you're a very astute attorney, and I know this is, you wouldn't have put this all together if you didn't have legal grounds to do it. But what is the Attorney General, Greg Abbott, saying about what is taking place today here at City Hall? And is there any sort of legal barrier that you see in the future, near future, to overcome to make this actually a reality, or is this reality right now?
Well, I certainly didn't confer with General Abbott before I issued my legal opinion to the mayor. I am firm in my belief that the continued application of the charter amendment to deny benefits to legally married same-sex spouses is unconstitutional as a denial of equal protection laws. And to the extent that the state DOMA would compel the city to do so, that it would be unconstitutional itself. If the Attorney General believes that the city is acting contrary to state law in doing this. Of course, my response is that the United States Constitution is preeminent, but certainly the Attorney General would be free to contact the city if he had any concerns.
My second question is, in the status of marital rights, so that the mayor don't have to go anywhere to get married, she can marry in the state of Texas. What barrier will have to be overcome to legalize the marriage in the state, right here in the state of Texas?
It would take a vote, well, first of all, either the Texas constitutional provision, which defines marriage as between a man and a woman, would have to be overturned, as it was in California. Or, in the alternative, the people of Texas would have to vote to change the Texas Constitution. So we would be in the same position that California was in.
David, in your opinion, you mentioned that, the courts have upheld the state's law in this matter.
Well, the courts have gone both way on the DOMA, the Texas DOMA.
Was there not a way for the city to initiate a court proceeding to get a more definitive result than just your opinion, your memo?
Well, as you know, Mike, lawsuits can come two different ways. Either you can bring them or somebody can file them against you. I did not think it was necessary or prudent in this instance for the city to file a declaratory judgment action. Didn't want to search for a defendant to do that. I thought it was more appropriate, since the mayor asked me to determine whether or not, in my opinion, the city was acting lawfully by continuing to deny these benefits. I furnished the opinion that we were, and therefore we have a responsibility, as the mayor said, to act in a constitutional manner, and that's what she is doing today.
Would it not carry more weight if a judge were to rule that in your favor?
Well, the benefits will be provided. And they will continue to be provided. In terms of carrying more weight, we're not seeking to establish law here. We're seeking to treat people fairly in accordance with the law.
Do you expect legal challenges, and if so, do you have an idea of where those might come from?
The city is legally challenged every single day. Anyone who, with a filing fee, can file a lawsuit. Nothing would surprise me anymore after 4 years as city attorney.
But I wanted, we're being really clear. We're not creating a new class of marriage. We are not going to be conducting marriages. There are no marriages that are conducted in the state of Texas between same-sex couples that are considered legally valid. This is legal marriages for people who are married in those states, and I believe there are 17 states now. The changes daily, so I may have lost count, but I believe there are 17 states where couples can be legally married and then return to Texas or move to Texas. And it's our view, as is the federal government's view, that those marriages are legal and valid and they need to be recognized.
Who would define
Are there any
that?
effort to remove the prohibition on, you said there's a prohibition on domestic partnerships in the city? I mean, so people like, your families like yourselves, so you don't have to go out of state and get married. Is there any way to provide those benefits to domestic partners?
Yeah, I think the current legal situation takes us past the discussion of domestic partner benefits, with the opportunity to celebrate legal marriage for same-sex couples as well as heterosexual couples. The prohibition against domestic partner benefits still stands in our charter. It is not being challenged, and this will provide an avenue for those committed couples who choose to marry to fall under our benefits package.
Mayor, what would you say to a critic who might view this as your administration choosing not to enforce provisions that are unpalatable or inconvenient?
I'll read you the exact language in the city charter. Except as required by state or federal law, the City of Houston shall not provide employment benefits, including health care, to persons other than employees, their legal spouses, and dependent children. Nor shall the city provide any privilege in promotion, hiring, or contracting to a person or group on the basis of sexual preference, either by vote of the City Council or an executive order of the mayor. Further, the City of Houston shall not require entities doing business with the city to have any of the above benefits or policies. It's very clear, their employees, their legal spouses, and dependent children. That is just the plain language of what is in the charter.
Except as required by state law.
State or federal law, and federal law trumps state law.
I mean, who is to define who is legally married?
It's the same. It's the same standard that anyone of you who may or may not be heterosexual in this room would have to provide to be legally married. A legal license issued in a state that grants and certifies your marriage.
Even though a state of Texas doesn't recognize those to be legally married, even with their licenses?
I don't know, Councilmember, were you married in Canada? Or were you married in the United States?
I was married in the United States.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to say,
Born in the United States. I was married in the United States.
but you lived in Canada.
I did live in Canada.
So I was going to say, even marriages from other countries we recognize. There is a process, and it's the same.
So, Mayor, will this go into effect? So, Mayor, will this go into effect immediately, or is this for a later date?
It will go into effect immediately. I issued a memo yesterday to Mr. Reed so that he would have an opportunity to prepare. Again, we don't have any sense of how many employees there are who are already in legal marriages, but certainly it provides an opportunity for those couples who choose to marry to fall under our big benefit package in the future.
Have you heard any stories from employees who say this is an important decision to go out of state and get legally married now because they would get these benefits? Any kind of those employees that said that to the
Absolutely. As I said, the issue was raised to me independently by different city employees across the spectrum who had already engaged in marriages in other states and wanted to know what the city's position was. But certainly I have had discussions with other city employees about whether they're going to choose to follow this path. I don't know that anybody is going to decide to marry someone simply for health insurance benefits. There are a lot of other things that go into a marriage. But I will say that financial considerations are probably one aspect of that. I know that in my own case that we spend probably $700 a month on health insurance, stripped down health insurance for my life partner. So there's a financial cost to this.
But you've made your fortune off of being the mayor, so.
That's why I drive that 10-year-old Acura.
Mayor, you have broken ground on two issues today
Okay.
that is going to be nationally monumental.
Hold on, Tony, so that we can get the other people out before we move
They
to
need
the
to
other.
hear this because
Okay,
we got
these
some
guys-
friends of mine back there.
Okay,
And I
go
really
ahead.
appreciate this coming to bear so that my friends could be life partners and do what they need to do. But I think, Mayor, today, with not only with what you passed in the ordinance today, Ordinance 14, for wage theft, but this is another major step as a milestone that's going to set precedents all across the country.
I appreciate that, and I truly appreciate the council members who are standing with me and the union representatives who are standing with me. Their recognition that this is something that applies to their members and their members want and need, and that it does make a difference. You've watched me work for 4 years. I don't do a lot for show. We try to take deliberate steps when the time is right, and we believe that this is the appropriate step to take today. And I'll make my personal decisions in the future with the other person who I will say, I'll just tell you guys that when the Supreme Court ruling came down, the first person to call me was my youngest daughter, who said, well, does this mean that you're going to go out and marry mommy now? And I said, well, it doesn't exactly mean that because it doesn't change everything. But, I also am conscious of the messages that I send to my own kids.